My name is Kristen McCall. I teach 7th grade Science and Social Studies at Kristen Middle School in J-Town. And 7th grade Science is Chemical Interactions and Force in Motion, so mainly physical science. And then 7th grade Social Studies is World History. I mean, it's really difficult because I know that in some schools, when they say they're on grade level, they're not really on grade level. Most of my students that are in my comp class are on grade level. And there are maybe 3 or 4 that aren't on grade level. And really the way that I work with it is I work with them one-on-one and give them extra help, especially after they take their tests, really going over their tests with them so they really understand where they were coming from. During review, I pay them more attention. They tend to be the ones that don't talk in my class. So I have to be really careful that I'm calling on them to make sure that they're understanding things, because they won't tell me if they don't understand, probably because they're embarrassed. So I have to make sure that I'm always walking by them to see what they're doing and to look at their notes or at the worksheets they're doing to make sure that they're understanding the work we're doing. And even though they don't raise their hands, I tend to call on them a lot just to make sure that they're on track and understanding what's going on. But often, even when I do that, still you look at their tests and it's completely different from the rest of my class. I have 2 preps. Well, I have to prepare for 2 different subjects a day, and that is a challenge at times. It's nice because with middle school science, with the modules, a lot of it is written out for us. So yes, I have to plan because I have to make sure that my students understand the modules, and so I have to add in extra things to fit the modules to my kids. They give us this pacing guide. They tell us things like, oh, you should be done with Mesopotamia in a week and a half, and then you should be done with Egypt in 2 weeks, and there's not enough time to get all the material in unless I was lecturing every day. So I have to plan really carefully in terms of making sure that I don't get too off pace. My AP class can handle lectures. My advanced class, it doesn't really matter. They'll take notes. They can learn it on their own. They're really good kids. My regular class, if I had them taking notes every day, they would take the test and they would not get anything right. Because they can't learn like that for too long. They have to do it themselves and have to make something themselves in order to fully understand what we're doing. And also, their interest doesn't hold for that long. I mean, I can lecture to them for 15 minutes as long as I'm questioning them all the time. That's fine, but any longer than that, and they're gone. Depending on how quickly we've gotten through the material, I'll usually lecture for 15 minutes 3 times a week. And then I try to make them do book work at least once a week so that they're having to read and having to learn to comprehend reading. And when I do that, they have to find out what the big idea is from the chapter they're reading, what the 2 main ideas are, 3 main ideas. They have to define all the vocab in their own words and do the reading checks so that they're really thinking, or hopefully they're thinking about the reading when they do it. And then I make them do projects. So we do a lot of group work with posters. So they make like big drawings. Sometimes I give them a lot of structure. So I'll tell them exactly what I want in the project. And sometimes it's more like, so for example, this past week we were doing Mesopotamia, and we were talking about how Mesopotamia is the first civilization, and they went from being just groups of people and villages to being city-states. And so on a poster, they had to visually depict in any way they wanted how Mesopotamia went from being villages to a city-state. So it gives them a lot more creative freedom, and they feel more ownership over what they've done. And then other stuff, I've had them do skits. They've had to write stories. They've had to write journal entries pretending like they're in that era, whatever we were doing, whether it was Stone Ages or Mesopotamia. So I try to incorporate a lot of different activities to get them really engaged. I'm the first person they've hired in 3 years. So it's not like there are a ton of new teachers at my school. I'm the only one, so I'm kind of the baby, and they all are trying to help me. Constant help. It's like, do you need anything? What can I do? My team leader is the other 7th grade social studies teacher. He gave me all of his stuff, all his PowerPoints, all his notes, all his graphic organizers, all of his videos, all of his tests. And I modify them, but it's really nice, especially with social studies. With science, I mean, the head of my science department is always there trying to help. And then there's another 7th grade science teacher on my team, and she's awesome. She's always there helping me, making sure that I know what I'm doing. We all go out for drinks on Friday nights after work, just my team and a few others. I really feel like I'm part of the community, and it's only been 6 weeks, I guess. So that's good.